Hey everyone, this is the third video in our writing emails series. Nate and I, Nate from Inbox Attack, myself from Mailshake, are going to be talking about how to write emails. In this video, we're talking about message. What's inside the email? All the little guts and glory of the actual email copy. Nate, where do we start? Like, what's your starting point when it comes to like the email copy?
I mean, typically I go back to the fundamentals of what kind of container it's in. If you think about food, when you go to the grocery store and you think about packaging, everything's got to match up. So if I'm sending something from Inbox Attack, I'm likely going to be talking about something in email marketing space, which that'll be somehow tied into my subject line, and then I'll get into my message. So, and there's two camps on this. The one camp says I'm going to write the subject line first and then write my message. Other people write their message and then provide a subject line. I am more of a write the message first and subject line later guy. So, but the main thing to remember with all of this stuff is intent. Like when someone gets the email, what do you want them to do with it?
Yeah.
And
sorry, Nate, let me just jump in real quick. I would love to. My process is I don't even write the subject line or email. I say what, and on the line of intent, I say what my purpose is of the actual email. Like, what's the outcome I want? What's the goal? And then I back in the subject line or email copy to that goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's having a clear goal and clear intent is really important. It also matters when once again, the higher up the food chain you go. I think we've talked about this in every webinar and every video we've done. The higher up in status the person you're contacting, the more they could pick apart intent or lack thereof. They'll know, they're going to zoom right in. Okay, what's in it for me? What does this person want? How do I get this crossed off my list or not? Immediately. They tend to be a lot faster at processing those kinds of things. So intent is everything. Now, in this case, we're just going to look at a basic email from top to bottom. It took me I spent a few minutes writing a really kind of lame email for this. But actually, as far as a cold email goes, I've sent stuff like this before and made people lots of money. Got lots of response, got lots of conversion. So it doesn't have to be long. So in the beginning of salutation, so many people are asking me these days about, hey, should I use first name in the beginning? And I'm like, no, you don't really need to. And frankly, sometimes I skip the salutation altogether, especially if I don't have good data. Sometimes your lists are out of date. And you just might not know. And in that case, I skip the salutation altogether. So that all depends on the list, which we go over in much more detail in previous videos. Here's the meat of it, the body. And I actually separate the body from the call to action because I really think the call to action needs to be treated as a separate entity. Now, one of the things that I go over like a broken record again and again and again is to keep it short and to keep it human. That's it. Keep it short and keep it human. You know, your fellow humans, the people you're emailing, will put up with a lot of your mistakes. They'll put up with a lot of mistakes if you come off human. You know, so many people come off, they talk normal, but they come off sounding so professional. Just keep it short and human. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I want. Here's what I think you want. Done. It doesn't have to be that complicated. One thing I've been seeing a lot of is trying to avoid long paragraphs. So this doesn't even go into copywriting at all. This is more of a scientific element, but there have been a bunch of studies with hundreds of thousands of people looking at how they read emails. And it's the number of lines per paragraph that matters. Like in blogging, they say, 3 lines to 5 lines per paragraph. And if you start thinking about mobile devices, that turns into really, really short, punchy things. That's one of the reasons why when you see really good email templates, it looks like there's just a bunch of single lines because most people will be reading it on a mobile device.
Absolutely. And sorry, jumping in here. This is the single biggest problem in any email is long paragraphs, and long paragraphs. You're probably thinking, most people are thinking in terms of writing copy or giving somebody an update. A long paragraph is probably anything more than 3 sentences. And even 3 sentences, if your sentence is a little long, that's too long as well. So like, hard number, never more than 3. And you have to have a really damn good reason if you want 3.
Yep. Absolutely. One of the things that will help you to order your copy, like, okay, need to make small sentences, small paragraphs, keep it human, keep it punchy, keep it specific, is to use frameworks. Mailshake has a fantastic cold email masterclass. And in the first section, they have, I think it's 7 different frameworks for ordering your email. So there is no cut and dry method for writing a good cold email. They all have the same ingredients, but depending upon what your purpose is and how you talk and how your prospect thinks and listens, you may need a different framework. And the framework is a fantastic way to help you get out of writer's block and just and use almost Mad Libs format. You know, you piece it together, you adjust the order, you read it out loud and say, all right, that makes sense, or it doesn't. And the final thing, it's not all about you. Your cold email is like trying to, get a first date. If you're just spending the whole time talking about yourself, we could go on and on about all the different frameworks and styles. It doesn't need to be all about you. Now you need to say a little bit about you, but to give them enough information to trust you. But ultimately, they need to want to know, especially if you go higher up the food chain, they need to know that you've done your research, that if you are strangers, that you've actually taken the time to get to know them. First date rule. So
yeah, one quick thing going back to that. The easiest way I found to find something a little bit about that person is to make sure your data is enriched, or to have just more enriched data, like just more data, social data. So easiest thing to do if you're emailing anybody in the tech space or anything like that is just get their LinkedIn, use Clearbit Enrich, or Voila Norbert Enrich, and get their social media data. Look at their LinkedIn, look at their Twitter, see where they went to high school, see where they went to college, right? Like that little basic data of like, hey, you went to UC Irvine. I went to UC Irvine, and somebody pitches me saying, hey, you went to UC Irvine. I went to UC Riverside, a school like kind of 30 miles away. Like that would just get me to read that email. So like, just think about what you can include there. And like 2 minutes of research goes a long way. In fact, like what I typically do is I have an Upworker, and their job is to add in context to my list. So I own Voila Norbert. I use Voila Norbert Enrich. I will get that export, and then I'll go send that to an Upworker. They'll fix the names, capitalizations, and all that stuff, but they'll also add that context point.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And one of the many things I've said broken record status is that's why doing smaller batch targets is so important. I mean, the bigger your list size is, the more generic it has to be. It has to be generic at that point. People buy off of specificity, not generics. No one wants to buy the generic brand. They might buy the generic brand because it's cheaper, but not the first time around. Certainly not on a first approach. So something to, as I said, we'll continually remind you all of that. All right, the call to action. This is something that we do have some rules for this. You need to be clear and direct with your call to action. Typically, we're going for a quick yes. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people ask open-ended questions. That's why I usually go for a yes/no question, or I don't even ask them a question. Are you willing to hop on the phone with me for 15 minutes next Tuesday? It's clear, it's direct, and it's a yes/no question. It's a yes/no question. Or If you can't have a good yes, no question, remove the questions. That's a really good litmus test for determining the potential effectiveness of an email. Look at the timing of it. Now, it's easy in e-commerce because you could put a expiration date on the discount code, and you could build urgency very easily. But with a good call to action, like the really good one, which isn't always possible, it's not always practical, we'll answer the question like, why now? Like, why is this important now? And oftentimes that's built up in the message itself, or it can be included in the call to action. For example, I am going to be in the south side of Chicago with other clients Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Could I swing by one of those days? It's kind of a longer sentence, but that's a better call to action because there's timing built into it. Finally, my favorite call to action is all about the reply. Analytics people hate it. Mailshake is one of the few platforms that actually tracks replies. That's one of the reasons I became a fan to begin with, because I love replies. It's something, if someone's an email, that is their typical response, is to click or to reply. Sometimes they'll remove all links, no links at all. Just, hey, reply. I want the conversation. The whole point of a cold email is to start a conversation with a stranger. It's the whole point. So, and then that conversation being framed and structured in a way that leads them to act, to give you something that you want. All right, signature blocks. Just keep them short, like really short. Sometimes I'll even remove my phone number if I'm feeling sparse. You don't necessarily need to link your company, the company name. So in my emails, if I'm trying to keep my link count down, I'll unlink my signature block where it says inbox attack or small biz triage. Also, don't add your email address. That's dumb. Like you're not pasting a business card at the bottom of your emails. It adds to the length, which you don't want to do, and it's super redundant and it looks lazy. If you are going to put a phone number in, keep it to 1. No one cares about your fax number. I can think of very, very few cases where that would ever be important. And finally, and this is one, it's a little pet peeve, and Sujin could agree or not agree with it, but be deliberate with the job title. I've actually run a campaign where I created a merge tag that would mirror the job title of the person who I was targeting. So it was more of a peer-to-peer. It still needs to be true, but you could be deliberate with it. You don't need to be, like, for certain campaigns, I need to be the CEO. For other campaigns, I just need to be the consultant.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do a lot of this when we do link building. Like, we've got a lot of SEO folks on our team. We're not going to say we're link builders, we're SEOs. We're going to say we're marketers, right? We're going to make it a little bit more broad, because if you receive a link building email from a link builder, it's just a little like too aggressive. It's just like, from the title alone, you're like, that guy only wants a link. He doesn't want to do anything with me. Whereas if it's a marketer, it's like, oh, well, we should chat to see what else they want to do, right? And so there's a little bit of and like broader kind of can help. I remember an old school sales tactic I did when I first started my first agency to get maybe a handful of first clients at Single Grain. This is back in 2005. I was the founder, janitor. It was a one-man operation. But what I did essentially was I put myself as director of marketing, right? If I put CEO, I was just I think I was 23 or 22 at the time. No one's going to believe me. But if I said director of marketing, it kind of worked out, and I was able to close more deals because I was selling to directors of marketing, and if I was CEO, it just would not relate. So same thing goes in your emails. So definitely remember that. And the other thing I want to add to this is, yes, you want to be short, but this is a great place to add social proof, like featured in blah, blah, blah. We've worked with XYZ company brands, right? We have over 14. If this is Mailshake, we would say the same thing that we have on our homepage. We've been featured in the TechCrunch, the NextWeb, Entrepreneur Magazine, or we have over 14,000 customers, or we've sent over, I think, 50 million emails. I think the number is way bigger now, but like those are details, numerical information, or brands I can reference that would make me look better. Same thing goes. So think of your email signature as a little bit like your landing page. You definitely don't put phone number, fax number, email address, title, like website, you know, like you don't put all of those. You choose what information do you put. Just like on a landing page, you choose what goes first and what gets omitted.
Yeah, I mean, Sujin, your current signature block is typically longer than I would recommend, but it incites curiosity because it talks about your other projects. That here's a little snapshot of the 4 or 5 hats that I wear. It's a really, I would wager to say the most important piece of real estate in there is the signature block, because that's the legitimacy. Yes, this is a human. Yes, you may be important to me. Yes, I'm going to trust that you're not going to waste my time or my money or hurt my reputation. It's tough to do it really quickly. So, it's a very important real estate. Don't overuse it. You don't want to cram it full of stuff, but use it to help sell. It's one of the, sometimes the only link I'll put in an email is the company. And I won't send them to my homepage. I'll send it to a custom page based on the campaign that I'm doing. So it's super, super important real estate. And on that note, the footer. This is truthfully where I have made my clients the most money, is PS blocks. It's super silly, but I love PS blocks. Sometimes I overuse them in our newsletters in our parent company, Small Biz Triage. Sometimes we'll have like 4 or 5 PS blocks. Sometimes we'll have more PS blocks than we do messaging because we're just having fun with it. But footers in general, it doesn't have to be a PS block. The as featured in strip could be done in a text format there, like Sujin just mentioned. If it's not your signature block, you can actually put it just below, and that's fine. But I would recommend on a cold email, a well-crafted PS block is important. Sometimes we'll put a secondary call to action in there. They've done a bunch of studies. Some people say second, some people say third. It's the second most viewed and clicked on element in an email. A lot of people, a good chunk of human beings that read emails are scroll to the bottom people. Skip to the good part, please. And oftentimes that's one of the reasons why we've had success with putting, a secondary call to action or a cross promotion bit of materials like, hey, there's this other project going on, you should check it out. It's also a great place to personalize things. Sometimes Sujin mentioned having an Upworker go and take that enriched data, and crafting more information with that. We'll actually drop in custom PS blocks. So I was like, hey, congrats on the XYZ award that you won last month, and have that go in the PS block. It's another way to prove that you've done your research. Unsubscribe link. You don't have to have an unsubscribe link in all cold emails. I've been using them more. It does hurt deliverability for certain kinds of targets, but one that I wrote yesterday for a campaign was, oh man, if you're really not digging me, you just break up with me here. It was for a fashion brand. I was having fun with it, and a breakup seemed good. And then use the merge tag for an unsubscribe, which is built into Mailshake's platform. And it did really well. Actually, not many people clicked on it, which is good. But it's nice that people know that they could actually leave if they want to. And as I said, in the last hack I would mention for footers is sometimes, and I don't use this all the time, but sometimes I'll actually put my primary call to action in the PS block. So it may be that, hey, there's this awesome thing I'm doing. You should check it out. You could sign up for this event. PS, if you'd rather just hop on the phone human style and talk, hit reply and I'll get some time on the calendar. That's what I really want them to do. So have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Absolutely, guys. I think these are what Nate and I talked about today are the foundational and building blocks of writing a good, solid email that gets responses. Ultimately, that's really what will drive sales, or really get your objective solved. But you have to play with it. I've found things just work differently, and depending on the industry, depending on who you're selling to, the culture. A lot of folks who are doing this maybe in Asia or Australia, people are just like in the UK, formal emails work a little better. It's just that. But also, if you're selling to SMBs, formal emails work better. So just play around with it. Use this as a base and then optimize from there. So that's why I recommend kind of doing maybe 20, 50, 100 emails at a time in the beginning. Get data and then scale up. This is the most common mistake people make. But anyways, if you have any questions about what we just discussed today or anything at all, leave a comment below. We'll do our best to answer all the questions in a timely manner. And definitely subscribe, because we've got a ton more videos on how to write cold emails and achieve sales success.